Tiny Tarot. Hey, what have you got to say today? This is the Tiny Tarot podcast. I am Low-Key Magical with a K, aka Christina Smart. And I am here with the podcast master, Earl. How are you today, Earl?
I'm fine. I'm really fine.
You really are. You know,
I'm
it
good.
doesn't sound that convincing, Earl. I'm just going to say. And this is episode number 4, for those of you that are counting. I am. And there's been a bit of a, what would you call that, a hiatus between episode 3 and 4. Because Earl and I and some people that we care about all came down with a terrible flu. And I was just saying a few minutes ago, 5 years ago, if you went back in time and said, you know, there's going to be a time where talking about having the flu is going to feel controversial and taboo, I would have said, what?
Oh, like
I'm sorry,
Eastern
what?
Europe,
Yes.
In the 60s.
Yes.
In the 70s. With,
So strange.
You didn't say certain
Yeah, there
things
were certain
out
things
loud.
that you didn't say. And now it feels, honestly, I thought, you know, we should talk about this. Is that what that's called? We should talk about this flu. And it was, a little pop-up came up in my brain right away that said, are you sure you want to talk about the flu? Because that's kind of a controversial. Why would it be a controversial subject? And again, all right, so we've got Tiny Tarot, who likes to sass it up and answer questions. And so the thought was, of course, we know that when you have the flu, you have an illness, there's a virus, absolutely. But it sometimes feels like there's something else going on during the sickness process, when you are ill, the things that go through your mind. And really, especially when now that the flu is such a strange and controversial topic. It was, am I going to get better? Or should I start making my final will and testament?
How many funeral directors do
Yeah,
I know? He's my favorite.
We do understand that vibrationally, health and ill health, or what we would call illness, are two sides of the same vibrational stick, if that makes sense. Our body knows how to be healthy, and when we are in illness, we're just on, you know, just like we do with all contrasts, wanted, unwanted. Health is wanted, illness is in the unwanted category. Absolutely. So when we are experiencing illness, and especially severe illness,
Right.
we are sending those rockets of, what is it that I do prefer? Wellness. We are sending those desires out in a very strong way. So vibrationally, that wellness has been created for us in that moment. Okay? It's up to us to move our body back into that vibration of health that we now realize exists for us all the time. It's just occasionally we're vibrating in a place where we don't prefer to be. So maybe it's more than just a virus, is what I'm trying to say. Maybe there's a process that we all go through with illness that is there to help us learn something. Everybody hates that. What? We're supposed to learn something again. Okay, well, yeah. Because
By my theory
that's a big part of being here.
It's all part of the carbon experience. It's all
right. It's all part of why we're here,
and the reaction to the illness.
The reaction to the illness.
Beyond the, you know.
The harnessing of the fear that comes along with the process of illness, because there's fear involved in that. You're afraid. If you're not ill, you can become afraid and say, "Well, I don't want to be ill." And if you are ill, you become afraid that it could progress further and you may not see health again. Those are very legitimate fears. But once again, when we allow someone to harness those fears and profit from them, then, you know, we got to draw some lines somewhere. So, Tiny Tarot, hey, what would you like to say today about health, wellness, specifically this nasty flu that we just went through? And Earl, I have, we can put a little right there. I have put the Tiny Tarot deck into 3 different stacks here, and I would like you to intuitively choose stack 1, 2, or 3 today.
Here I come. I'm coming around the corner.
All right, come around the corner and there we go. We're going to say stack numero uno, and let's see what we come out with first. And this is a Six of Swords. Can you see that? Six of Swords right there. And in the Six of Swords, now the swords represent our thoughts and our words. And in the Six of Swords, we have an individual that is covered by a blanket and huddling down in the bottom of a boat. And this individual is, I always think of it as a feminine individual, is traveling across the water and has someone assisting her to get her to, if you notice in the front, the water is really choppy, but in the distance, the water is nice and smooth. And I often put this scenario on this card. It's like someone that's been in a terrible relationship for a long time, and that friend comes over and says, pack your stuff, because we are getting you out of here tonight. And you and your friend go, yeah, okay, thanks, I needed that. And you get in the car and you drive away. That's not literally what this is saying, but it's one of those moments where in your mind you say, this is enough. I have had enough. I'm not doing this anymore. And whether you do it on your own or you do it with assistance, you make a change in that moment to go from choppy water, which represents our unstable emotions, to smooth water. So in one particular, intuitively, what comes to mind in this is that there usually is a straw that has broken a camel's back before you will make that decision to make a significant change to better yourself. Does that make sense? This card represents that moment where you go, all right, I have been taking it up to this point. I am not going to take it anymore. But sometimes it takes something severe for you to make that change.
Yeah, you start quoting Nietzsche a lot.
Yeah, okay.
It didn't kill me.
What didn't kill me made me stronger, but almost killed me. So, yeah, so you're going to be really worn out. And this is a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of people, but there is a natural flow of energy that you will often see play out in people's lives, where they kind of have a snowball going, and then they get to maybe a severe illness. And in that severe illness, it forces them to stop and take stock of where they are and really decide what's important, whether they choose to heal or not. It really changes them. And you'll hear someone say, you know, when I got that illness, it actually wound up being a blessing, because I changed X, Y, Z, and now I have a much better life than I had before. You've heard people say that before. Yeah. So in this case, immediately I want to say that sometimes it takes an illness for you to say, whoa, okay, there are some things that are happening here that need to change.
My niece was telling me yesterday about a situation where, like, people from prison that have been in and out of prison a lot act a certain way, and that was really kind of making me vibrate that way.
Really?
Yeah, people that have survived that experience.
People that have come through something and used that as a springboard to change. Yeah. Okay? That's really what this is. This is making that choice where it's a lot of moving from victim mentality to now I am in charge of my own self. I'm not going to allow anyone else to ripple these waters for me anymore. What I'm moving on to is smooth. So if I put this into a context of illness, I mean, that's exactly what this is. This is that moment where I wish it hadn't taken this, but this is what it's taken for me to take charge moving forward. So what would that represent? An illness makes me realize that I need to take charge of my health.
This is the sickest I've ever been.
Right, this is the sickest I've ever been. I need to be more... Right, I'm never getting this sick again ever. We need to look at preventative. We need to look at... Now, when you're laying there in the blankets and you're not sure if you're going to live or not, you do decide what's really important to you and what's not.
Right.
You know, when someone's calling on the phone and saying, you were supposed to be here at 8:00 and you're half dead, all of a sudden that job is not nearly the obligation that it was before. It's like, I'm sorry, this can't happen. I physically can't be there. This is making, you know, what maybe, yes, a job is important, but even, let's say this as a creative project. You and I are doing this podcast as a creative project, but when we were both down, it wasn't like, well, we're going to drag ourselves in and do a podcast no, we do this podcast in creation and enjoy. We weren't going to be doing this while we were sick.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense, right?
Well, rent doesn't depend on.
No, rent does not depend on this. This is a creative
thing that we're looking at.
Absolutely. So you begin to prioritize things in a different way when you're really, really sick and when you're really, really down. And if we take this to a bigger, let's take it instead of an individual and let's move it out. How long have we been abused by the pharmaceutical system? We don't even have to go into that conversation, but how long have we been, how long have we just been really happy to, if you're wearing the white coat and you have the little name tag, then you know what's right. And this is that point where you're getting away from that abusive relationship and saying, all right, I have to be the one that's responsible for me now. So right out of the gate, this is saying lesson number 1 that you've gotten from this whole sickness process on a bigger scale than just as an individual is that you realize how responsible you need to pack up your stuff and get the fuck out. It's really basically, how long are you going to wait for this system to be broken before you say that's enough and you move on to what you know is better, and that's the individual responsibility.
Got it.
Right? Instead of relying on now again, if you've broken your leg and you've got a bone sticking out, then emergency medicine and medicine is the most wonderful thing. But when it comes to, we haven't really focused on preventative care, longevity.
Now, what is it?
Quality of longevity.
What is it about that card, as I look at it, that's making me feel like you reach a place in your life, say at the end of a flu bug, where you're more open to ideas about not to let I mean, it's an internally generated, the cosmic data stream is pushing this concept through you as if you were an avatar. It's like this is a choice you're making, and it's a pretty epic kind of a deal. It's a
Well, it does feel like, again, that analogy, the metaphor of coming out of the abusive relationship. How do you feel at the good part? Not at the bad part when you've been, but at the good part when you realize your freedom and you realize all the options that are open to you. And you realize, now I recognize the behaviors, the red flags. Now I have so many more recognizable red flags than I had before on how to take care of myself and how to stay out of this kind of situation again. So that can be as simple as, I need to wash my hands after I've been to the gym. I don't need to eat snacks at Walmart after touching the ATM. See, like simple things, but it's also bigger things. I don't need to get sucked in to believing that XYZ is going to keep me healthy, while I should be afraid of this, while I should never do that, right? That individual, there should be some individual health choices that take place that we take responsibility for. That's the way that I see it.
That fear, just as an aside here, do you get the impression that fear is, it's such a toxin in its own? Just by its own, as a vibration, it's its own fucking toxic.
You know what immediately comes to my head when you say that is when we talk about how poisonous sugar is. Yeah. Tiny Tarot immediately was like, fear equals sugar. And I went, oh, whoa, okay, hold on. You can get addicted to it. You get addicted to sugar even though it's damaging you. And you can get, well, if you live in fear and you think that's what normal is, then you're kind of addicted to it. And there are some, like we talked about, there was a Tiny Tarot read that said, do you know what normal and healthy feels like? That's a different map that you navigate by. I had some friends the other day that said, well, if we get normal and healthy, what are we going to sit around and talk about? Because all we talk about are our problems all the time. And I said, bingo, that's something you need to stop doing.
Yeah.
Do you think healthy, happy people sit around talking about how miserable they are all the time? No, they do not.
If you say, Scotty, beam up, and then don't say anything else.
Right.
Scotty has no idea. Who
What do you
want me to beam up?
What are you beaming into your life? Absolutely.
But when I say, Scotty, beam up my dog, well, there goes my dog.
All right, now we're going to turn this around because we were kind of talking about even though this looks like a card that isn't absolutely positive, it's on the way to positive. It is that moment, that turning point. When you say, whoa, I didn't realize how far I had gone down this desirable road, and I will now make a 180 and start going the other direction because this has to change. And then what we come up with next is a 9 of Pentacles. And this is a woman standing around pentacles, which are the things that keep us comfortable in our lives. Obviously, pentacles represent money, but they also represent the things that we value, the things that we work to acquire, those things that offer us comfort and feel like stability around us. And a 9 is one of those numbers that it's multiple 3s, so it builds upon itself. And she is standing in a garden surrounded by these pentacles, surrounded by a lot of beautiful greenery, and she has a bird of paradise on her shoulder. So she's feeling it. This is a big transition from the sword energy over to this pentacles energy. This is when Stella gets her groove back right here. That's absolutely it. So part of what this is saying to me is this process comes so that you can remember those things that are truly important to you and make those changes that you've been hesitating or ignoring up until this point. And when you do that, and the 9 is telling me, if we take this into a bigger place, in a cooperative way, like when there are many of us that realize that we are 100% responsible. Not necessarily, I'm not saying, yes, taking responsibility for your health, absolutely. But the swords are so much about the things that we say and what we think. That is a big part of this too. The first energy that came out wasn't wands. It wasn't, oh, you need to get up off your butt and do more things and take down the system and, protest. And it's not that. It's sword energy. It's how are you thinking about this relationship?
It's effectiveness.
It is effectiveness, personal responsibility.
You're about to do something.
Yeah.
Towards some end.
Yes.
That will work.
Yeah. Because that's what's coming up next. This can be even better if we're talking about your health. Yes. Your health can be even better when you come out of something like this than when you went into it.
Yeah.
And you will have a different perspective. And then there's a fruitfulness to the understanding that the lessons that have been learned from this process, if applied properly, and that's where these swords come in. How are you going to take what just happened to us? How are you going to process the flu, the big one? How are you going to come out of this? What kind of ideas are you going to have? And where is that going to lead you? What do you want it to be? Because right now, it's the Ace of Pentacles next. This is exactly it. What kind of new things are you going to start building? What kind of newness is going to come out of this? Because we've got some decisions that we can make. We can fall back into, well, I guess the whole system is screwed, and I guess that everyone is just going to all be diabetic, and, we're all going to be that person that has, comorbidities, and we're all going to be, and if I don't get jabbed, and if I don't do this and this and it's just, and don't even hassle me because I'm fat, because now you're making me feel bad about myself. Like, okay, are you going to be that way? Or are you going to turn this around and get some new ideas and say, hold on now, I'm responsible for my own comforts, for my own stability, You know, and this is that moment, this is that
feels
aha
so
where
good
it does feel
just to look
good.
at it.
And it feels like it's a bit of an offering because it's coming out of a cloud. It's like that. And then a miracle happens. Why not? When you want to say, how can we ever turn this around? That's the moment where it feels like it's magic. But I want to say the result is because of our cooperative change of mind about this. And our deciding what do we really want to foster? What's really, really important to us here? Health and well-being and growth and comfort and stability and peace and all of those things that we've been talking about wanting, but in the back of our minds we're angry and confused. And what was the big F word, Earl? Fearful. And when we are angry and confused and fearful, we are no different than that poor little abused housewife that was letting her this is just a story that comes in when I look at it. When she finally puts her foot down and says, yeah, I'm bringing the girls over, we're packing my shit and we're leaving. We're not doing it this way anymore. We're going to build something that is stable and strong and grows on itself and cooperative. And then guess what comes as a result of changing your mind? Stuff that you couldn't even anticipate. Stuff that seems like it comes in out of nowhere, where we go, holy shit, why weren't we doing it this way all the time? So we can look at a sickness process if you wanted to. Oh, it's a punishment. Or, oh, it's just the way things go when you get too many people on the planet. Which, by the way, there are not too many people on the planet. But anyway, it's more about the shift in your own individual perspective that will help the larger perspective to shift. So what you'll see when you do that is you'll see the Nine of Pentacles playing out in your own life first. And then we get to see that bigger picture of the Ace of Pentacles coming out. And I want to ask, all right, so I don't know. This seems great. That's a nice little message, but I feel, ooh, all right. And then, so I've been asking Tony Tarot, yeah, but where does this lead? Like, this is nice. This feels like more of, be responsible for yourself, right? All of this is on an individual level. We're here as an aggregate consciousness, but the action that you can take is within you, right? And then I'm thinking, yeah, but feels like there's a bigger piece to this. And Tiny Tarot pops out with justice. And that feels so good because this to me says,
I want that tattooed on my arm.
those that have been fucking around are gonna find out. I mean, how else do you say it?
Isn't that
Those
cool
that have been doing things that they knew were putting those scales out of balance because they wanted the money or they wanted the notoriety or they wanted to win the next election or they wanted the whatever. The ones that have fucked around are going to find out. Like, that's really, Tiny Tarot talks like that. It's not me, it's Tiny Tarot. No, but the ones that are, but we can't focus on this as I'm not going to be happy until I see justice. Do you understand that? Our job is to focus on what we're building individually, okay? This is our spirituality. This is all of those things that we value in the world. This is our family and our relationships and becoming. You can't be this and be fearful. I mean, goodness sakes, you just can't. This is coming into it and learning how to feel it and grow it and tend to your own garden, taking care of those around you, but tending to your own garden first. And then when we have felt this, when we know that this is possible, this is what comes in for us. Ideas we hadn't even thought of before, and bam, justice for those that deserve it. However, if we sit in this place and go, I am not going to be happy until those guys I am not going to move on to these smoother waters until I see justice. It's got to be the other way around. We've got to start tending to our own business, make our own houses in order, understand that the next obvious step and justice for those that need it are going to be a natural part of the process. Justice, I can't focus on this enough. Justice isn't our job. Does that make sense? Justice is the scales are going to go back where they need to go. Our job is to maintain our individual energetic material, all of those things. We focus on those for ourselves, helping to make our individual lives fearless and fruitful. Ooh, those are big words. Making your own life fearless and fruitful. And then, man, it's nothing but good stuff after that. And I can't emphasize that enough. They'll get what's coming to them. You know, and it's not that I sit and wish bad things for people. Absolutely not. I mean, this is just tarot saying, don't worry about it. It may not, we can't define the justice. I won't be happy until somebody's head's on a stick. It's not like that. We can't define that justice, but understand that those scales have to balance themselves back. They have to. So everything that's been so dissatisfying to us about this whole sickness and pandemic and all of that stuff, it's going to even back out, and it won't be that comfortable for everyone. Maybe 1% won't be so comfortable, but the rest of us will be just fine. Just fine. And whoo, and then here comes the Seven of Cups. And that means at that point we have choices. All of those places where we felt like we had no I have to have this kind of insurance. I don't have any other choice. I have to see this doctor. I don't have any choice. I'm going to get diabetes. I don't have any choice. My whole family has had diabetes. No. This is, look at those cups. All of those cups represent emotions and the things that we really care about. And this person has so many choices, he's almost, whoa, like, what do I do next? So one of the things with the Seven of Cups that Tiny Tarot says is be ready for when this shows up. Because you will have more choices than you thought that you had. And you want to be that person that makes, again, we never worry about making a wrong choice. We only focus on making a strong choice. And at that point, it's going to be really clear the next steps that we want to take individually and as a group. Ooh, this is good. I like this justice. There's a part of me, I guess it's my like human part that goes, I want to do my chin like this and go, yeah, somebody's going to hate this. This is going to be rough for some people. And by that, you know, I'm talking about individuals that made enormous amounts of profit and made terrible decisions knowing that they know who they are and you know who they are. And this makes me feel really good that scale is going to tip back. And that it's going to mean incredibly fruitful things for us, by us, the collective, the aggregate, and new things that we hadn't even thought of before. New things. I mean, this is
filtered through the flu.
Yes, all this filtered through the flu. And you know what I think? I think in a big way, this flu was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And a lot of us that knew that, you know, this flu has been altered to break the camel's back. And I again, thinking that the scales were going to go this way. Okay, this is going to sell more. This is going to cause more people to, be fearful and listen to sources of power. And instead, watch this. Oh, wow. This isn't going to go the way I thought it was going to go at all. Because now remember, anytime that there's a rebalancing of scales, there's a bit of a rebound. It doesn't just go boop, it goes wow, right? So they're going to feel, there's going to be a pinch. There's going to be discussions. There's going to be, I don't think history is going to be really kind to these people, which is the opposite of what they wanted. So strange. But man, this is actually pretty nice. Now, again, individually, I'm looking at bigger picture, but even if you're looking at individually, if you do start making better decisions, let's say even in your self-care and the way that you view the way illness comes on to you, that it's not a punishment, it's not because you did something wrong or made a wrong decision, and that it's actually in the same vibration as health, and that you can have conversations with your body and say, what do you need? We've been so disconnected from the biological process, and this is something that allows us to say we don't have to be disconnected from the biological process. I can have a wonderful relationship with this vehicle that I am traveling around, and it doesn't have to be mysterious and strange. I don't have to feel like it's not on my side. Quite the opposite. I can feel fruitful and abundant within myself and full of health. And what does that bring me? More of the same. More and more and more, because that's what we like. And then how does justice play out for you? Those places where you were out of balance, here in the body, return to balance for you. Yes, I like to think this is also a big picture that some people are going to get their comeuppance. But justice is also you remembering and rebalancing that scales of the relationship with your body. Why did you come in? To enjoy this body and enjoy the ride in this vehicle and to be that explorer. You didn't come to be harsh and to be angry with the body and say, you don't look like I want you to, and you're not healthy the way that I want you to be. Those scales need to be rebalanced as well, and your body can feel the justice of that. Whew, Earl, that feels like a big one too. I like that as well. But let's focus on, man, this Ace of Pentacles and this Seven of Cups, because once again, there will be new things coming towards us and choices with the things that we really love. Again, how does this play out in your own life? When you have returned yourself to balance, you will see those opportunities around you that you couldn't even see before. And you will realize that there are lots of things that you can pour your heart into, pour your emotions into. It doesn't have to be a single choice, and you're never limited, never as limited as you thought you were, never. And this illness process can wake you up out of that. It can wake you up into helping you remember what's really important to you and how to use your energy in the wisest way. Where were you wasting it before? Don't waste it like that anymore. Whew, Earl, this feels like a good one. What do you think?
I like this one.
I like this one. Well,
I got
Tiny
a couple
Tarot.
tattoo ideas out of
Hey, no kidding. I really like this. I'm feeling this Nine of Pentacles business. That's the way I feel when I'm in my garden and I'm hanging out with my animal. I don't have a bird on my shoulder, but I got a cat that sits on my lap a lot. I do like that. Meow.
I like that.
Meow. So if we were really gonna capture these together, I'd say, all right, so there was a straw that broke the camel's back, but we are moving on to better waters, and it's gonna be nothing but good. Woo! Tiny Tarot, hey, you're a sassy one today.
I like it.
I like it too. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to hit up Tiny Tarot on Facebook. You can find me, Low Key Magical with a K, also on YouTube and Instagram. If you would like a private read, reach out to me and we can make that happen. Thank you so much. Low Key Magical with a K and Earl, the podcast master. Have a magical rest of your day.